Dubai is on fire, not metaphorically, not as a headline, literally. The Palm Jumeirah, the man-made island that looks like a palm tree from space, the address where the world's billionaires live and the tourists photograph and the luxury hotels charge $1,000 a night, took an Iranian drone strike today, the Fairmont. The Palm Hotel is burning. 4 people injured. Black smoke rising over one of the most photographed places on Earth. And as if that image alone was not enough, Dubai's authorities did something that no one in the history of this city has ever had to do. They evacuated the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, 828 meters of glass and steel in the heart of downtown Dubai. Emergency teams cleared it floor by floor after sirens went off across the city and missile interceptions lit up the sky. The Burj Khalifa was not struck, but it was emptied, because nobody could say with certainty that it would not be next, and Iran has made no secret of what it is willing to target. The question mark hanging over that tower right now is exactly the message Tehran wanted to send to the world. Both of Dubai's airports are shut down indefinitely. Dubai International, the world's busiest airport by international passenger traffic, closed. Dubai World Central closed. Thousands of passengers stranded. Every major airline that routes through the Gulf canceled. The city that built its entire identity on the promise of safety, of being the one place in the Middle East where the chaos stays somewhere else. That city is tonight under missile alert, its most iconic tower evacuated, its airport dark, a luxury hotel on its most famous island still smoldering. Now, if you watched our video this morning, you know how we got here. But for those of you just joining us, let's do a rapid recap of what happened in the early hours of today, because everything that has unfolded since is a direct consequence of what was set in motion before most of the world woke up. At 2:30 in the morning, Washington time, Donald Trump appeared on Truth Social in a pre-recorded video. He announced that the United States had launched what he called major combat operations in Iran, alongside Israel. The operation has 2 names, Operation Epic Fury on the American side, Operation Roaring Lion on the Israeli side. Trump listed every grievance going back to 1979. He said American lives may be lost. He said the goal was to destroy Iran's missiles, its nuclear program, and ultimately its government. He told the Iranian people to take cover, and when it was finished, to take over their country. His exact words, "When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations." Simultaneously, Israeli jets and U.S. warplanes hit over 500 targets across Iran. Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, Karaj, Kermanshah, the whole country felt it. The Ministry of Intelligence, the Ministry of Defense, the Atomic Energy Organization, the Parchin military complex, and most significantly, the compound of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei in the Pasteur district of central Tehran. 7 confirmed missile impacts in that neighborhood in the opening salvo alone. Iran's internet dropped to 4% of normal within 2 hours. The country's airspace closed. And before the sun had fully risen over Tehran, Iran's National Security Council was already urging residents of the capital to leave if they could. That was this morning. That was the video we posted earlier today. And if you haven't seen it, the link is in the description. Because what we are about to tell you is what happened next. And what happened next is the part nobody was fully prepared for. Iran hit back, hard, fast, and wide. The scale of Iran's retaliation is something that has no precedent in this conflict or in recent Middle Eastern history. In a single afternoon, Iran struck 9 confirmed U.S. military bases across 7 countries simultaneously. Not 1 country, not 2, 7. The Jufair Naval Base in Bahrain, headquarters of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet, struck. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the largest U.S. military installation in the entire Middle East, and the forward headquarters of U.S. Central Command, home to tens of thousands of American personnel, struck. Al Salem and Camp Arifjan in Kuwait, struck. Al Dhafra and Al Fujairah in the UAE, struck. Prince Sultan Air Base in Riyadh, struck. Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan, struck. The U.S. base in Erbil, in Iraq's Kurdish region, struck. Iran's IRGC issued a statement that left no ambiguity. All Israeli and U.S. military targets in the Middle East have been hit, and the operation will continue relentlessly until the enemy is decisively defeated. In Bahrain, it went beyond military bases. Multiple residential buildings in the capital Manama were hit directly. A Shahed drone, the same Iranian kamikaze drone that has been killing civilians in Ukrainian cities for 2 years, smashed into the upper floors of a residential tower near the U.S. Navy headquarters, setting it ablaze. Civil defense teams launched rescue operations in the capital of a country that had nothing to do with the decision to strike Iran this morning, a country that had publicly stated it would not allow its territory to be used as a launch pad, a country that got hit anyway. In Kuwait, a drone struck Kuwait International Airport. Workers injured, damage to the passenger terminal. In Qatar, a missile struck a residential neighborhood in Doha and erupted in a fireball. AFP filmed it. In Saudi Arabia, explosions were heard in Riyadh. In Jordan and Iraq, bases were targeted. And then, Dubai. 7 countries. In one afternoon. Iran made a decision today that will define how it is remembered by its neighbors for a generation. It chose to spread the pain as wide and as fast as possible, to make every government in the region feel the cost of having an American base on its soil. The strategic logic is brutal but coherent. Make the neighborhood so painful that someone pressures Washington for a ceasefire. Whether that gamble pays off depends on whether any Gulf government has the leverage and the stomach to push back on Trump. Early signs suggest they do not. And before we go further, if you are watching this and you are not subscribed yet, now is the time. This story is moving faster than any news cycle can keep up with. We are going to be posting updates throughout the night and into tomorrow as the situation develops. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Because what comes next matters. Now the numbers. At least 201 people killed in Iran. 747 wounded. Iran's own Red Crescent confirmed 24 of Iran's 31 provinces were affected. Not just Tehran, the entire country. And among the confirmed deaths, there is one that is going to define the international narrative of this conflict for weeks. In Manab, a small city in Hormozgan province in southern Iran, an Israeli airstrike hit an elementary school for girls. The death toll there has risen to at least 60, mostly children. Iranian state media reported 2 more students killed near a school east of Tehran. Those images are already on every screen in every country in the world. Every government in the global south that was already skeptical of this operation, every European politician trying to balance their relationship with Washington against their own constituencies' concerns, every UN diplomat looking for leverage, they all now have an image that makes the argument for them without a single word needing to be said. Wars are not won or lost only on the battlefield. They are won or lost in the court of global public opinion. And the court is watching Manab tonight. The diplomatic fallout is already visible. Malaysia, Turkey, Indonesia, governments representing hundreds of millions of people have all called for an immediate ceasefire. The more that footage dominates international coverage, the harder it becomes for the United States to maintain the framing that this is a precision campaign against a nuclear threat, rather than a war that is killing children in provincial cities. The Biden administration learned in Gaza that the gap between military objectives and civilian optics can become politically unbridgeable. The Trump administration is now running the same risk at a far larger scale. The image of Manab is not just a tragedy, it is a strategic liability. Now to the question that is dominating every intelligence briefing, every newsroom, every government situation room on the planet right now. Is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei still alive? Here is exactly what we know, and here is exactly what we do not know. Israeli and U.S. strikes specifically targeted Khamenei's official compound. the Beit-e-Rahbari in central Tehran, which serves as his residence, his offices, and his primary meeting complex. Satellite imagery obtained by the New York Times from Airbus Defense and Space shows the compound completely leveled, flattened. Analysts reviewing the blast patterns said the cratering is consistent with deep penetrating bunker buster munitions, bombs designed specifically to destroy reinforced underground facilities beneath surface buildings. The structures above ground are gone. The question is, what happened to whoever was underneath them? Israel's Channel 12, the country's most watched evening news program, opened its broadcast Saturday with anchor Danny Kushmaro stating, and this is a direct quote, "The assessment in Israel that Khamenei was killed in the strikes is strengthening." He added, citing high-ranking Israeli sources, "This is the first time Israel has assassinated a leader of a foreign country." The Walla news site reported Israeli officials saying Khamenei had been cut off from all contact, with no certainty about his fate. One senior official was quoted directly, "Khamenei is no longer with us." On the Iranian side, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi went on NBC News Live and said, again, direct quote, "As far as I know, yes, they are alive." 4 words that are doing an enormous amount of work, as far as I know. Not, "Here is Khamenei on camera." Not, "The Supreme Leader delivered a statement 20 minutes ago," as far as I know. Iranian state television promised during the day that Khamenei would deliver a public address shortly to dispel the speculation. That address has not happened. And that silence is the loudest thing happening in Iran right now. Think about what Khamenei has always done in moments of crisis. During the 2009 protests, he went on television. During the 2019 uprising, he went on television. During the June 2025 12-day war with Israel, he issued statements within hours. This man has never, in 35 years of ruling Iran, gone this long without speaking in a moment of national emergency. The silence is not normal, and every hour it continues, the Israeli assessment gets stronger. What we can confirm with absolute certainty is this: Iran's defense minister Amir Nasirzadeh is dead. IRGC commander Mohammad Pakpour is dead. Reuters confirmed both. Multiple regional intelligence sources confirmed both. The Iranian foreign minister himself essentially acknowledged it, saying Iran had lost 1 or 2 commanders. Though framing the deaths of your defense minister and your top Revolutionary Guard commander as not a big problem is the most strained spin imaginable. And here is what that means for the chain of command. Iran's entire political and military system flows through one office, the Supreme Leaders. Every missile order, every decision on the Strait of Hormuz, every call to activate Hezbollah requires his authority. That is how the Islamic Republic has functioned for 47 years. If that authority is dead, wounded, or cut off, the decisions that get made below it are not strategic. They are reactive, panicked. A headless military fires what it has left and activates every lever it can reach, not because it is following a plan, but because the plan no longer has anyone at the top to execute it. Which brings us to the Strait of Hormuz. Because while the world has been watching Dubai burn and waiting for Khamenei to appear on camera, something equally consequential has been happening out at sea. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps has been broadcasting radio transmissions across the Gulf. These transmissions have been confirmed by an official from the EU's naval mission Aspides, who spoke to Reuters. The message being broadcast, in their exact words, "No ship is allowed to pass the Strait of Hormuz." The UK Maritime Trade Operations Agency confirmed receiving multiple reports from vessels in the Gulf who had received these warnings. Iran has not issued a formal official closure order, but the transmissions are real, the ships are hearing them, and tanker captains do not need a formal government press release to decide that a waterway being contested in an active war between Iran and the United States is not somewhere they want to be. The Strait of Hormuz is the single most important choke point in the global economy. 20 million barrels of oil pass through it every day, nearly 20% of world consumption. Every major Gulf exporter ships through this one narrow channel. No viable alternative exists. Iran controls the northern coastline and can make that waterway a war zone without a formal declaration. Fast boats, mines, coastal missile batteries, and the final decision to close it was supposed to rest with the supreme leader, the same supreme leader whose compound is now rubble and who has not been heard from in hours. When markets open Monday, they will price all of this simultaneously. Oxford Economics had modeled a straight closure producing Brent crude at $130 per barrel before today's strikes. That model was built on a world where Dubai had not been hit and Iran's defense minister was still alive. The number on Monday will be different. Higher oil means higher gas prices for Americans, higher manufacturing costs across Asia and Europe, and a new energy shock for a global economy that was not prepared for this. Now let's map who is where in the world right now, because the geopolitics of this war are global. The United States is monitoring from Mar-a-Lago. Trump has not made additional public statements beyond his 2:30 a.m. video, but domestically the political battle has already started. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries demanded to know the legal basis for launching major combat operations without congressional authorization. The War Powers Act requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours and limits unauthorized military engagement to 60 days. That constitutional fight is coming, and it is coming while the bombs are still falling. Israel is fully committed. Netanyahu said the operation continues as long as needed. The country is on a nationwide emergency footing, hospitals underground, airspace closed. The Israeli casualty count from Iranian retaliation is remarkably low, 89 with minor injuries, largely because the Iron Dome and Arrow systems have performed well. But Iran has been firing at a tempo that is unprecedented since the June 2025 conflict. And the question of how long the defense systems can sustain it is one Israeli military analysts are already raising quietly. The Gulf states are furious. Saudi Arabia called Iran's strikes brutal aggression. Qatar said the targeting of its territory cannot be accepted under any justification or pretext. Kuwait announced it maintains its right to defend itself. The UAE called it a historic moment in which world leaders had failed to ensure regional stability. Bahrain called it a treacherous attack and a blatant violation of sovereignty. Every one of these countries had publicly pledged before today that they would not allow their territory to be used as a launch pad against Iran. Every one of them got hit anyway. Iran's strategy is explicit. Make the cost of hosting American bases so high that somebody blinks. Whether that strategy works depends on whether any Gulf government has the leverage to move Washington. Early signs say no. Ukraine's Zelensky came out firmly in support, calling it only fair to give the Iranian people a chance to remove the regime. The same regime that has been supplying Russia with Shahed drones to hit Ukrainian cities for 2 years. Russia, through Medvedev, was immediately hostile, accusing the United States of showing its true face and calling for a return to diplomacy. China declared itself deeply alarmed and called the U.S. the largest source of chaos in the international nuclear system. Beijing has not condemned Iran's retaliation. China imports 40 to 45% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Its silence on the Strait question is not neutral. It is a signal. France called an emergency UN Security Council meeting. The US and UK vetoed any resolution. The Secretary General condemned both sides. Nobody listened. Britain said its warplanes were providing air defense for Allied personnel in the region, but played no role in the strikes. Germany reaffirmed its commitment to Israel's security. India called both sides asking for dialogue. Zelensky called it justice. Macron called it perilous. Guterres called it catastrophic. None of it changed a single thing on the ground. And then there are the Houthis, who announced today, with the timing of a group that has been waiting for exactly this moment, that they are resuming attacks in the Red Sea immediately. The Red Sea shipping route, the Suez Canal corridor that connects Europe to Asia, that had already been severely disrupted by Houthi attacks before today's war started, is now officially back in play. That means European and Asian supply chains are facing a simultaneous threat from 2 directions. the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf, and the Red Sea in the south. The shipping insurance markets are going to react to that on Monday in ways that will affect the cost of almost everything that moves by sea. Here is where we stand as this day ends. Iran has promised the operation continues relentlessly until the enemy is decisively defeated. A source with knowledge of Iranian military strategy told CNN that no significant damage has been done to Iran's missile capabilities and that Iran has prepared itself for a long war. The IDF confirmed it launched new waves of strikes in the final hours of Saturday, targeting Iranian missile launchers and air defense systems in central Iran. The bombing continues through the night. The missiles are still flying, and the questions that will define the next 72 hours remain unanswered. Does Khamenei appear on camera? Iranian state television promised an address. It has not happened. Every hour of silence strengthens the case that something is very wrong. If he does not appear by morning, the succession crisis begins, and the chain of command question moves from theoretical to existential. Does Iran formally close the strait? The IRGC transmissions are already happening. A formal closure triggers a global oil shock and a direct naval confrontation between U.S. carrier strike groups and Iran's asymmetric navy. That is a different war than the one currently underway. Do Iran's proxies enter the fight? The Houthis are already back. Hezbollah has been quiet. Israel sent a message to Lebanon that it has no intention of escalating as long as Lebanon stays out. Whether Hezbollah holds depends on whether Khamenei is alive to order them to. And what do the markets do on Monday? Every oil trader, every central banker, every finance minister is watching this story tonight. The number that opens Brent crude on Monday morning will tell you everything about what the world thinks happens next. There is one more question nobody wants to say out loud. The stated goal of Operation Epic Fury was to permanently eliminate Iran's nuclear program. But military strikes destroy equipment. They do not destroy knowledge. Every Iranian nuclear scientist who survived today still knows what they know. Previous U.S. and Israeli intelligence estimates suggested that even a perfectly successful strike would set the program back by 1 to 3 years, not permanently. And the lesson every country is quietly drawing right now, North Korea drew it years ago, is that the only reliable deterrent against this kind of attack is to already have the bomb before the bombs arrive. If Iran survives this conflict, and it will survive it in some form, the nuclear question does not go away. It accelerates. Here is what we know for certain. Dubai's Palm Jumeirah is on fire. The Burj Khalifa was evacuated under a sky lit by missile interceptions. And the question of whether it becomes a direct target tomorrow has not been answered, and will not be answered until Iran either signals restraint or fires again. The world's busiest airport is closed. 7 countries are under Iranian missile attack. Iran's defense minister is dead. The IRGC commander is dead. And the man who has ruled Iran for 35 years, whose compound has been reduced to rubble by bunker-buster bombs, has not been seen or heard from in hours. This is day 1. The United States is at war with Iran. Not a limited strike, not a warning shot. Major combat operations with no defined endpoint and a stated goal of regime change. The Middle East you woke up knowing yesterday no longer exists. And the world you wake up to tomorrow will be shaped by what happens tonight. In the skies over Tehran, in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz, and in the silence where Khamenei's voice should be. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Khamenei alive? Does Iran close the strait? Does the Burj Khalifa get targeted? And does this end in a week, or does it become something that defines the decade? Subscribe and turn on notifications. We will be back the moment the situation changes. Because right now, the situation is changing every hour.